The old way of studying is dead. There's better ways to study and to make sure that you ace any exam. We have new tools that lends itself to new methodologies that we can use in order to speed up the learning process and also make you feel less overwhelmed. The old way of studying is where you took physical notes. You had piles of papers that you tried to organize in some way, but because of the physical limitation of having to write down something physically on paper, it became difficult to retrieve information when you wanted to study them. The same thing with having notes or information within a folder, within a folder, within a folder, somewhere in your computer. It had the same limitation where the capturing was fine. You would take a Google Doc note or Word Doc note, and you would save it somewhere in a type of hierarchy. But what if those notes had to be in two folders at the same time? It just became messy. And when you passed the exam, you decided it's easier to delete that information than to reorganize and reuse it in the future. So today I'm going to talk about a study structure that uses new tools like Obsidian in order to speed up studying and make sure that you can pass any exam with flying colors. You will become one of the top 0.0000001% of pupils if you understand the structure. Hello there, gorgeous individual. My name is Dee and I'm your guide into everything Obsidian/study related. Today we'll be setting up a study system within Obsidian. And you might wonder, what is Obsidian? Let's Google it. What is Obsidian and why you should use it for studying? And Google tells us that Obsidian is a free, customizable note-taking and knowledge management application that uses plain text files stored locally, allowing for easy linking between notes. So in essence, in summary, what it is it's a note-taking application that is free to use, and it allows you to build up a knowledge base. But more importantly, it allows for linking between notes. And the linking between notes and the organizational capabilities of a tool like Obsidian is what makes it so powerful. And we can see it in the knowledge graph, which is a visual representation of how these notes are linked to each other. So if you go to our course that we're trying to pass, we can see all the connections in the graph view. But if we go to a module and a submodule, we can see all the notes that is also linked to that submodule. We can go even one step further and go to a lecture or study note and actually see the notes, the actual knowledge that we created out of those sessions. And Obsidian is powerful because this is the way our brain thinks. Our brain thinks in connections. So today, we're building out the study system and we need a use case, and we'll use the use case of the CFA exam. The CFA is a very difficult financial exam that takes upwards of 300 hours to even have a chance at passing it. And this is the perfect use case because for the past 2 years, I've been consulting people who have written this exam. And throughout these consulting sessions, I have developed a study framework, and it lends itself extremely well for passing exams. So with this CFA example, we'll go through the course, the module, the submodule, the lectures or study sessions. And within the module and submodule notes, you can see there's a lot of different things happening. We are pulling in our lessons, study sessions, lecture notes automatically. We are creating our knowledge base. We are showcasing our source notes, our formula notes, our question notes. We have a breadcrumb trail of how we completed the submodule, and we have tasks and questions. But we don't just stop there. We have our knowledge repositories, which is a database that automatically pulls in all the knowledge on specific topics, which can then be reused in the future. No more studying a subject once and forgetting about it. You now have access to everything you've studied in the past. So no relearning subjects because you have already created that note. We also look at study trackers and flashcard systems, as well as the graph view. So if you are looking for a study system, look no further. If you are a CFA candidate, look no further, because there's two products that might be of interest to you. For the CFA candidates, this is the vault that you'll be seeing throughout this video, built with all the structure from the course, the module, the submodule, with all the templates that you need in order to start studying immediately. For other people writing other exams, the study vault comes pre-populated with all the templates and setup that you will need in order to spend 30 minutes to set up everything within this study structure, as you will see throughout today's video, and get studying as well. If you take a couple of hours to get used to this new and improved way of studying, you'll thank yourself for the rest of your life. The earlier you start, the earlier you'll make studying a breeze, and the earlier you'll ace that exam. What a good study system should allow you is essentially three things. It should allow you to capture things effortlessly, to retrieve that said information effortlessly, and it should also give you an overview of your study progress. So we're going to start with the study flow diagram. I learn in pictures, so I think a flow diagram is a perfect way to ground ourselves when we go through this entire structure. So with capturing, it's where you want to capture the information for the knowledge and for the tracking purposes. For the retrieving, well, you want certain home pages where you know you can find context-specific information. Whether it's the knowledge notes, you take a specific theory note on something, or if it's your tracking progress, you want to see how many hours a day are you studying. And you want to be able to retrieve any information, whether it's the course note, whether it's a flashcard, whether it's a knowledge note or theory note. You want to be able to retrieve that said information within seconds. If you can't, your system is broken. So this is the flow diagram. We capture information, point number one. And there's basically two types of things that we capture. We capture things for the knowledge repository that we build, because Obsidian or PKM tools like Obsidian allows you to store all of your knowledge in one place, which makes the retrieval process much easier. With the capture process, we also need structure, and that's something we'll talk a lot about today, is how to have a structure in how you capture information in order to be able to retrieve that information again in the future. So we capture, for the knowledge repository, atomic notes and topic notes. And atomic and topic notes, if we zoom out and we go to the daily note where we capture the breadcrumb trail. So this is a chronological breadcrumb that you leave for yourself in order to find out what did you do on what day. And on this day, we can see on the 21st, we had a study session on security market indexes. And from the daily note, we create that study session. So if you go to the study session, we can see that there's a lot of metadata at the top that we fill in. And then we actually have the theory that we created within that note. Here we can see what is the security market index. We have price versus total return and calculating indexes. And these notes here at the bottom, they are atomic and topic notes. Now you might ask, what is an atomic note and what is a topic note? Well, an atomic note, if you can see where it goes, this is where we create that note and we go to that atomic note in order to fill in the information. An atomic note is one single idea. It is an explanation or one single topic that you are trying to explain. And think of this as one single Lego block that you can fit into anywhere else in your vault, but it's one single idea, one single Lego block. And the example that we use out of the CFA 1 example is price return index over multiple periods. And here we have a definition, compound returns to track how index value grows over time, and we have the formula. This is one idea that relates to price return index over multiple periods. Now you might ask, what is a topic note? A topic note is a theory note that combines two or more atomic notes, two or more single ideas. So calculating index value over time is the example that we have for a topic note. And we have a definition over time. The weights of securities change with an index and overall value of the index changes. This note contains calculations. And here's the two calculations on how to calculate index value over time. So you can see that an atomic note can get promoted to become a topic note. But an atomic note is something that you can reuse over time. So let's say 5 years down the line, you have a project where you need to calculate price return index over multiple periods. You can pull in this atomic note and reuse it. For topic notes, you can also reuse it, but the difference between atomic and topic is just the amount of ideas that it combines. Atomic is one idea, topic notes are two or more ideas. Now these atomic notes and topic notes, they are populating our knowledge base within our personal knowledge management tool. And you can see where they flow. They flow all the way to our course pages, our module page, and our submodule page. So for the topic note, you can see it goes to multiple places automatically. And for our topic note, if we follow the line, we can see that it's also going to multiple places. It's going to the knowledge pages. So the main course, the CFA 1, then it's going to the module level knowledge base, and it's going to the sub-module knowledge base. So you can see it goes to a table. It says price return index, price return index, price return index, and price return index. So you can see that these theory notes, they get sent to multiple places. You take it once, and then you populate certain tables in order for yourself to be able to retrieve it in the future without any effort, because this note is populated at multiple places where you will look for it in the future. So if you go back to the diagram, we just spoke about the capture, where we start on our daily page or daily note, and we give a breadcrumb trail for ourselves. And we'll speak more about this breadcrumb trail a little bit later. But on our daily note is where we indicate, today I want to study. What do I want to study? Well, I want to study the security market indexes, which is a sub-module. And I create that study session note. So then I deviate from the daily page and I go to the study, meeting, lesson, lecture note. In this case, it was a study session. And this is where I started to create my theory notes, my knowledge repository, if you will. And these are the examples of the type of knowledge notes that we can get. We get atomic notes and we get topic notes. Atomic notes, one single idea. Topic notes, two or more ideas combined into a specific topic. This is from capture all the way through to the knowledge repository. And then we briefly spoke about where you will retrieve it. And here you can see the overview pages. The overview pages, the course page, module page, sub-module page, study tracking page, is all the short term. This is notes. This is home pages that you'll use for the duration of what you're studying. So if you're studying to pass an exam, these home pages, course, module, sub-module, study tracking page, is only useful until you pass it. But you have long-term information that you might want to retrieve in future courses or future lessons or future projects as well. You don't want to study the knowledge once and forget about it because it might be useful in the future. And this is where the long-term overview pages comes into play. And we spoke about how these knowledge pages, the atomic note and topic note, get sent to the short-term overview pages. So course page, module page, sub-module page into the different tables. But it also gets into the long-term notes, which is the knowledge pages. So knowledge specific to CFA 1, knowledge specific to CFA 1 module, knowledge specific to CFA 1 module, sub-module. So now in the future, when you come across security market indexes again, you have all of that knowledge that you have accumulated throughout this course. And here we can see that we have tracking as well. So we went through the top line on how to capture information. It goes into our knowledge repository, and then we use Dataview and base queries in order to retrieve it at specific pages, at the specific overview pages. Something else that we capture, and these are the breadcrumb trails. So we briefly spoke about the breadcrumb trail that always starts on our daily page. But we also want to indicate study hours or study rating. And this is where we capture it on our daily note. So if we go to this bottom example, here we have the example of the breadcrumb trail. It's a chronological trail to see how you completed or how you studied for a submodule or module. Basically how you interacted with the course. Every time you put in an effort, that's when you'll go to your daily page and you'll put it into this task format, which enables it, like a task, to be sent to different places. So on our daily note, we had this log course CFA 1. We indicated on which module we're working on and which sub-module we are working on. And then we created the study session for that day. Then this log gets sent to the different overview pages. So at the main overview page, we can see every time we made an effort towards completing this exam, completing this course. And this gets automatically sent to the logs or sprints section, which just indicates the efforts that you put towards a project. In this case, it's the course. But these logs get sent to the module and submodule of that specific log as well. So it also gets sent to multiple places. Now, the second thing that we capture on our daily page is some metadata on how we are studying. So 2 simple examples, log study hours and log study rating. We use this rating system in order to populate the study tracker. So here we have a heat map, if you will, that indicates how well you studied. So green is obviously good, orange is not so good, red is terrible. And we have the log study hours as well, where you can see anything above 4 is dark green, anything below 1 is going to be red or light red. And over time, you can see your effort towards an exam like CFA that requires upwards of 300 hours of studying in order to have a chance at passing the exam. So this is a way to track your progress and to also stay motivated. So we've just run through this entire structure. The capture, knowledge repository, how we retrieve it, the overview pages, and then the second capture and displayed is the tracking. Now we touch on a lot of different notes. We touched on the daily page, we touched on study, meeting, lesson, and lecture notes. We touched on atomic and topic, which is our knowledge notes. We spoke about these knowledge notes and where they're retrieved within our knowledge pages or our course module, submodule pages. But let's dive in a little bit deeper as to what type of notes we get. I've narrowed it down to 5 different types of notes. We have a home note, lesson note, knowledge note, tracking note, and study note. A home note is a place where you can see a high level overview of a topic. So in our case, it would be the course, it would be the module, it would be the submodule. Think of a course that you want to complete. Think of it as a book, and a book has chapters. So think of a course as a book. The chapters within the book is your modules, and then you might have sub-chapters, which is your sub-modules. So we have course, module, submodule, or book, chapter, sub-chapter. And we go 3 levels deep, and we stay there. So for these home notes, they will look something like this, where we have our course, where you can see links, we can see our modules. We have our module pages, which has a lot of different headings that we can dive into, and then we have our sub-module pages. What will this look like in Obsidian? It will look something like this. For our highest home note, we have the course CFA Level 1. We have links to different places that we might want to navigate to. We have the modules or the chapters within the book. We have all of our notes taken related to that course. And we have our logs and sprints, which is the breadcrumb trail. So if you want to go into a module, you can choose, let's say, the equity investments. And here we have the same thing. We have our submodules, which is the subchapters. So if you want to dive into a specific chapter within that chapter, this is where we indicate the parent-child hierarchy. So the parent is this module, and the child would be the submodule. And then we have our lessons or study sessions or lectures. And we can see by the date, the creator date, tags, up, summary, the file name, we can see all our attempts to study or all the lectures that we went to. Then we have our knowledge note, our topic and atomic, and you can always filter in different ways. Let's say you want to filter on the creator date. You can filter by multiple different filters. But topic and atomic notes or knowledge notes, related notes, any notes that's related to the module equity investments, and we just use the related field. So if we go to the properties, any note that has the CFA1 module equity investments and under the related field, that would show up here. We have our source notes. Think of a source. You find a cool website that explains a specific topic. Well, you're going to create a source note to indicate this is where I found that information. And then in your study notes or lessons or lectures, you might indicate that source in order to be able to retrieve it again in the future to see where you got that information from. Then we have formulas, and formulas are typically just atomic notes with an extra tag called type formula and type atomic. And if we hover over it, we can go investigate to see what that formula looks like. Then we have our question bank. So these are all questions that we might want to come back to and work through. We have our logs and sprints, which is just our breadcrumb trail of every time we attempted to do some work related to this module. And then we have our tasks and questions. And this is on the module level. Let's say we want to go to the sub module, the sub chapter. Let's go to security market indexes. And this looks exactly the same. We have the lessons and study sessions, the topic and atomic notes. We have the related notes, source notes, formulas, question banks, logs and sprints, tasks, and questions for that specific sub chapter or sub module. So those are the overview pages, the home pages, course page, module page, sub-module page. So we just covered all the home notes. Now let's go to the lessons. So the definition of a lesson is where you capture the knowledge notes, where you do your studying, where you practice, where you actually study. And examples of this is study notes, lesson or lecture notes, or meeting notes. And what do they look like? In our example that we used earlier, we can see that we had a study session on security market index calculations. And here we filled in some information and created some knowledge notes. What will this look like if we go to our sub-module and we go to lessons, you can see that we have a couple of study sessions. And if we go to the example that we used, study session on security market index calculations, well, how did we capture it? You can see on our graph view, we capture it by starting on our daily note. If we go back to the diagram, you can see that the flow that we're going to follow is this one, capture to knowledge repository. So capture atomic notes, topic notes, capture where, study sessions, lesson lectures, meetings. And this is this bad boy right here. On the 21st, we open up our daily note. So we go to our calendar and we imagine that it's the 5th month and it's the 21st. So we click on the 21st and at 8 a.m. we want to start studying our submodule security market indexes. And we create that meeting or study note. So we type it in this format and then we create it. So then we navigate away from our daily note in order to create that study session. And then we start going through our theory. We can see we studied this chapter and we had a definition. We looked into price versus total return and we had some calculating atomic and topic notes that we created. And the metadata, you can see we have created, updated, up. We specify the module and submodule. For related, might be related to something else, maybe another meeting or another lecture that you want to tie those notes together. So for instance, let's say this is somehow related to price return index over multiple periods. You can see that this connection has been formed just by inputting it into the related field. If we take it out, it disappears. Participants, this would be a lecture note where you would fill in the lecturer, or if you are studying with somebody else, you would add their name under participants, and source might have a link to a specific website or book chapter that you're using, or you'll create a source note and you'll indicate the source note under the source metadata property. For the tags, it's a type lesson, type study session, it's on CFA, on Ecto Investments, SMI, on Ecto Investments. These tags are used to retrieve this note again in the future. You can see from our diagram, this note will be retrieved under our CFA module Ecto Investments, lessons, or study sessions. And we use those tags in order to send this meeting note to the different places. So this meeting note we would want to send to our module page and our submodule page. So there's also a linkage where it goes to our lessons and study sessions table, as well for our submodule, which would be at the top, lessons or study sessions. So that's for the lesson. Now for the knowledge notes, the knowledge that we created within the study sessions or lessons or lectures or meetings or study sessions, even with a friend, we typically get two types. We get atomic notes and we get topic notes. Atomic notes, one single idea, could be a formula, could be a question, could be a definition of a specific topic, but it's generally a single idea that you can then reuse in multiple places. You don't want to make a note too long because then it does not become reusable. If you decide to cram all of your theory into one page, you cannot easily take single concepts and reuse them in a later course because it's too busy. There's too much data within that note. So we typically want to keep ideas as single ideas, and then we combine them together into a topic note. So you'll typically create atomic notes and then combine them into a topic note. So a topic note, rule of thumb, is 2 or more atomic notes. And a topic note could be anything. If you're studying coffee beans, you might create a topic called the type of coffee beans you can find in the southern hemisphere of planet Earth. And within that note, you'll indicate a couple of types of coffee beans. So a topic note can be any concept that you want to explore further. And generally, you will then add atomic notes to that topic note. In the example that we gave at the top, you can see that we indicate it by this little orange diamond, and we have some metadata that indicates it's a type atomic note, and we give some information as to what this relates to on CFA 1, on equity investments. It's a type formula, and it's on equity investments again. And then we indicate the atomic note's single idea, which is the formula and the definition. Our topic note, as we said, is any topic that you choose. In this case, it's calculating index value over time. And this is a topic note because it has 2 or more atomic ideas within it. So this topic is made up out of 2 atomic notes. And one of them was the one that we saw at the top, price return index over multiple periods. And we can see price return index over multiple periods. These are the knowledge notes. And if we quickly go to the study on where to find these knowledge notes, we'll come back to tracking. Let's quickly go to studying. Well, we find them in our knowledge pages. So we can see we have a knowledge page for the course CFA 1. We have a knowledge page for the course and the module. We have a knowledge page for the course and the module and the submodule. So we go to Obsidian. What would this look like if we close this down? And let's go to our course. So this is our course homepage. We can go to a specific module where we want to review some information. Let's say we want to review a specific submodule, and the submodule resides in the module equity investments. We then go to the submodule security market indexes, and here we can see all our lessons. So this is where the lessons are returned. And under topic and atomic notes, we can see all the knowledge notes that we have taken. We can either just go through this table or go straight to questions if you want to work through questions or study formulas. All of this resides in our module and submodule notes, but you also have this knowledge page, which is essentially the output of this course. This is the things that you created out of this course, the knowledge that you might want to retain in the future, not just restrained or isolated to this course itself. So here in our knowledge page for the submodule, security market indexes, which is part of the module equity investments, we can see that we have all notes. So this includes all atomic, topic, question notes, lessons. But we can also go through lessons only. We can go through topic and atomic notes and filter it in different ways. And we can then go to formula notes if you want to study formulas, or we can go to the flashcard system, which we'll talk about later. So this is quite useful, and each course, module, submodule will have its own knowledge page. So that is how the knowledge notes are returned. If you go back to the flow diagram, you can see that this retrieval happens through Dataview and Base queries, and they're displayed in our overview pages, our course page, module page, submodule page, and long-term is our knowledge page and flashcard dashboard. So next thing, you might want to track your progress. You might want to see how you've been studying over time. And tracking generally happens on our daily notes, where we have our logs or sprints. And this is the breadcrumb trail that you can then also go to your overview pages. So if you zoom out and we go to our overview pages, course page, module page, submodule page, you'll see that there's logs or sprints. And that is basically where you can see these little breadcrumb trails that you leave for yourself to see when and where you put an effort into that submodule, module, or course. Now for the study tracker, to see this heat map, let's go back to Obsidian and let's go to the study tracker. So the study tracker, quite simplified. You can add and remove as many fields as you want, but for our purpose, we are just looking at the study hours and log study rating. And you can see on this day, we had a red day. So if you click on it, you can see that on the 25th, we had a study rating of -2 because we didn't study at all. And that's why that one was red. But let's go look at one of the orange days. So on this day, we studied 1.5 hours and our log study rating was just a 1, which is average. So you can see that between 1 and 2 hours of studying is orange. Then if we go to a dark green day, we can see we studied 8 hours and our log study rating was 2. The same thing for any other data field that you want to measure. Like let's say you are interested in your sleep hours, healthy eating rating, etc. You can add similar trackers as well, because it does have an influence on your log study rating and log study hours over time. So to recap, we have a study flow diagram. We have the capture and retrieval process. We capture information in different ways, and then it goes into our system, and then where we want to retrieve them is typically in our overview pages. And we have short-term overview pages, which is just specific to the course that we're trying to pass. And we have long-term, which is knowledge that's basically being committed into our long-term memory, if you will. And this allows us to reuse concepts in the future. So when you're done with the course, the knowledge is still there and ready for you to use whenever you come across it again in the future. Now this process, you can see, has a lot of different notes. We have daily pages, study pages, atomic and topic notes. We have our knowledge pages and our course pages. And at the bottom, we just explained a couple of these notes. Our home notes, lessons, knowledge, tracking, studying. Home notes just provides an overview. Lessons is where the actual knowledge capture and studying happens. We have our knowledge pages, which is the actual knowledge that you are creating. It's typically atomic and topic notes. Then we have tracking to track our progress over time. And then we have the study notes, which is the knowledge databases, which pulls in the atomic and topic notes. It pulls in flashcards, it pulls in questions, it pulls in formulas, and it's just a way for us to study. Now, the last thing that we need to check is just the flashcard system. So let's quickly look at a flashcard system. Let's go to the module equity investments. And if you go to the knowledge equity investments page, you can see that we have all notes, and let's go down to flashcards. And flashcards in Obsidian, in my opinion, works quite well. Typically, you would have to go to an external application like Quizlet or Anki. But in my opinion, it's not good if your knowledge resides somewhere else. In this example, your atomic and topic notes become your flashcards. So everything is still integrated. If you are looking at a flashcard called calculating index value, or let's say index price return calculation. How do I calculate index price return? And the question is, at the beginning of the year, the price was 1,200, at the end 1,320. What is the index price return over the year? That is the question. If you are able to calculate it here as a flashcard system, you can test to see if you're right by just hovering over the pasted image. And you can see, oh, did I get 0.10? No, I did not. Why? Well, then you can go to that note. You can open up the graph view and see when and where you have ever mentioned this note. So if we go back to the flashcards, let's say we are looking at the flashcard calculating index value. We can see when we have mentioned that note, and that was in this specific study session. Now, let's say there are 10 study sessions which calculating index value was mentioned. You will see all of them here on your graph. And you might go back to a lecture where the lecturer explained exactly how to calculate this. And that means that you just have more ways to understand a concept. And if we go back and we go back to the flashcards table, you can see that we have this as a prompt, the file name. We have the summary, which we can use to, do we understand the definition of calculating index value? If not, we can go into the note. We can see the formulas. Do we understand the formulas? No, we don't. And then this is where we fill in the last time we reviewed this. And then on our reviewed page, if we reviewed it today, we can change it right on this table. So let's say today is the 3rd. We give our reviewed rating. So I did not get this right at all. So I'm going to keep this as -2. So -2 being the worst, 2 being the best. And the difficulty rating is out of 10. How difficult is this question generally? Because we could have spent 100 hours trying to understand this, and our reviewed rating might be a 2, meaning the best that we can, meaning we understand this concept. But generally, people find this quite difficult to understand. So this gives an impartial look at the actual difficulty of this specific question, and this is the relative. How well do we know it? And we can also see some tags and when it was created. Now, you can format this table in different ways in order to make it feel more like a flashcard system. And you can add another field saying flashcard prompt, and you can have that and move it around. So let's say you want the summary here instead of the image there. You can move all of these things around to make it into a flashcard system that you want, or you can make it even easier to just not show the other fields, and you can go index price return calculation. Do I know how to do that? Calculate an index value. Do I know how to do that? If I do it and I am correct, I'll give myself a score of 2 being the best, and I'll change the review date right on this table. So now if I go into it, I don't need to go into the actual physical note in order to change these fields. I can do it on the flashcard database by itself. This is a pretty comprehensive study workflow. And there's a lot of different tools, methodologies you can use, but I don't see a lot of people talking enough about the structure. And if you have a structure like this, it would almost be impossible to feel overwhelmed. You are able to capture information effectively because we have a structure. You're able to retrieve information because you put in the time to understand the structure, and you have the different pages where you can retrieve it. And you understand the type of notes that goes into a system like this. In my opinion, this is the only system out there that gives a very good base on how to study effectively using modern day tools. And in the future, we'll expand a little bit on some of the tools that we can use. It's a little bit more advanced, but I would say if you get to implement this into your study system, you are already 99% there. Just this organization helps you to study, putting in the knowledge pages, actually capturing the study sessions and writing out the notes. That's already studying. And now you're just making your studying process, your reviewing process much easier later on because everything always stays organized.